Hey, everybody, this is Marnie Swedberg. Nice to see you. I'm the web hostess of womenspeakers.com. I am here this afternoon with Angela Kugia-Sanchez. Thank you for being here, Angela.
Well, I'm very happy to be here. I'm so excited to talk with you today.
And we got it working. Woohoo!
Yeah, we got it working. That's the first good step.
I know technology is always such a challenge, but
I
I
know.
was just telling Donna in our last live, my dad was a sound tech at big churches
Oh,
my whole life. And
oh,
I decided that there's actually demons assigned to tech.
yes, I believe it 100%. What you need
So,
is a granddaughter around. They'll always help you out.
that's true. Out of the mouth of babes. Well, I'm so excited you're here, and I love partnering with you at
Thank you.
womenspeakers.com. And I wondered if you would share with us how you describe your speaking ministry. So, like if somebody says, well, Angela, what do you do? And you say, well, I'm a speaker. And they say, oh, well, what do you talk about?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, when people ask me, what is it that you do? I like to tell them that my speaking ministry is really about opportunities,
Hmm.
opportunities that God has given me to be able to share his life-changing, powerful word with others because his word brings hope and encouragement and truth for every place, every time, and every circumstance. And that's what people are looking for. That's what women are looking for. They're looking for the
Hmm.
hope and encouragement that his word is able to bring. And so I see my ministry as the opportunities to be used by him to bring his word to others.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
that's my description of my ministry.
That's great. And what is like a most requested topic that you have?
I have two that kind of, yeah, and it's kind of funny, they kind of go hand in hand. My One of my most requested topics is end times. I do a
Oh,
teaching,
okay.
yeah, through the book of Revelation and Daniel, and that is really requested a lot. But my other one that's pretty equal is I teach on hope because
Mm,
God has not abandoned you. And those
I
really,
love
always speak to
that.
people's hearts, and it's kind of funny because they kind of go hand in hand, end times, hope. So, yeah, those are two of the most requested topics I have.
That's cool. And where do you get most of your speaking engagements?
Well, just like many people, most of my leads come from word of mouth, from people
Yep.
that I know or that I've met, I've spoken before, people that know me personally. And, they'll say, do you know somebody? Or they've heard me and they'll recommend me. But the interesting thing is that I have found these days, word of mouth and getting to know people, it's not just, being, in small group with them or being at church with them. But a lot of times you can actually get to know people online. These days, I'm part of
Yep.
some social groups like homeschool moms and things like that. And through interacting and praying and encouraging
Great.
people, they actually get to know me that
Good.
way. And
Yep.
so that becomes a personal, way for people to get to know you. And I do get a good number of leads from women speaker over the years. And the
Good.
nice thing about that is that then turns to a personal, lead because
Relationship. Right.
yeah, because they know you've gotten to know them, and then they
Right.
can, tell other people about you. So,
Yep.
that's really how,
Cool.
yeah.
Awesome. And you've been with womenspeakers.com for a long time. What is one of your favorite things about being part of that site?
Oh, I just love women speakers. There are so many great tips and tools and resources through Women Speaker, but I have to say that my favorite thing that blesses me the most is the fact that at Women Speaker, we are encouraged to keep our eyes on the Lord and to
Mm,
remember that our ministry is His ministry. And as you like to say, we are the vessels through whom His love and truth and
yeah.
hope flows. And you encourage us, and at women's speakers, we are encouraged to see our ministry as his tool. And it's different for everybody. Some people speak, a
Right.
couple times a
Right.
year, some will speak every weekend, but it
Right.
doesn't matter. For each one of us, we see how he has created us, what he opportunities he gives us, and how we can give him the glory. And you don't find that, at other places.
Mm,
This, the blessing of being with like-minded people that love the Lord and we're reminded to keep our eyes on him, and this is his ministry, is really
cool.
one of the greatest things about women speakers. Absolutely.
That's great. Well, I love one of the things that I'm most passionate about is the uniqueness factor. And when God strung together your 3 billion base pair DNA, He did it in a particular way. There
Yes,
are no two speakers that will ever have the same presentation, let alone presentation style
absolutely.
or relationship with Christ. And that comes through
Yes,
when we're speaking and when we're interacting with our audiences. So very cool. Um,
yes.
so maybe tell me a little bit. You mentioned already that you get some word of mouth going by being involved in social media groups. So, like, tell me, in an average day, what does your social media life look like?
Well, what I like to do is just log in throughout the day. You know, these days with our phones, you kind of always logged in. But just kind of interact with the different groups. I'm part of some community groups. I'm part of some church groups, homeschool mother
Cool.
groups. Because we're a homeschooling family. And as I do that, actually get to know some people. You can interact with them. You can give them words of encouragement or hope, and there's prayer requests, and you actually
Awesome.
I like to build relationships with people that way. So it's a really powerful tool to feel close to people that you actually haven't even met, in this day and age. So it's a really, really great tool. I just love to be on it every day and interact and get to know people that way.
Well, and I know that, they're doing research now that shows that the brain doesn't register a technical relationship like it registers someone sitting with us. But at the same time, Angela, I've never met you face to face, and yet we are friends. We are dear
Yeah,
friends.
exactly. That's exactly
So
right. And
there
the
is
video technology
something
really
that
helps.
happens. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
something that happens there. That's cool.
yes.
Okay, well, I'm going to touch on a little more difficult topic. How do you handle the money piece about speaking?
Well, a lot of times, with the way I like to view it is I like that in God's word, he uses the analogy of the body to talk about his church and believers. And just like our body, our physical body, as each member does what God designed it to do, it's a blessing to the entire body. If my hand feeds my mouth, then my whole body benefits from that. And in the same way, as a speaker, I am used by God to bless the body when I bring his word and bring his truths and share with them his love and his hope. And then the rest of the body is a blessing to me when they share with me financially so that I am able to be sustained and keep doing the work that he has designed me to do. And so
Right,
when I think about it that way and I share with other people, they realize that that's the way God designed the body,
right.
whether it's speaking or teaching or serving or whatever we're doing. And we need to be a blessing to each other. And so that's how I like to look at it.
That's cool. And do you
Yeah.
have a confirmation form or a contract that you use?
I do a lot of emails, so I don't actually have a form. I heard you talking
Okay.
earlier to somebody, so I probably should get one.
Well, I was just going to say, since we've been talking about it today, if you had one, we'll add yours to it. But you can
Yeah,
actually look at ours and make
yeah, I'm
one.
going to. Yeah, that's
Great.
what I mean. Great
Okay.
tips and resources.
That's great. Yeah, you know what? And the fact is that I'm always still just learning too. Even though I've been doing this and even teaching it for years, I'm always learning new stuff, and it's so
Yeah,
great. That's one of my favorite parts.
me too.
So, what are a couple organizational tips that you could maybe share with a newer speaker who's just getting going? Maybe some mistakes you made early on with organization that you could
Yeah.
help with.
Yeah, there's so many good tips you can actually learn on the Women's Speaker site. But for myself, I have found that, it's easy to kind of tend to get disorganized with paperwork everywhere, and I like to, make notes. So a couple things. First of all, I like to make sure that I have everything in writing because a lot of times you'll call someone and talk to them on the phone, and you'll get all the information and details, and I'll jot down a whole bunch of little things on, pieces of paper. So what I like to do, what I've learned over the years, is to make sure to take that information immediately while it's still fresh in my mind and put it in paper form. I'll write up a Word document and file it on my computer, and then I
Yeah,
will put it in an email confirming everything that we just said so that it's down in writing with my contact person, everything that we talked about,
great.
so that I can get it in writing and get information back. And kind of along with that, another tip is I really have learned over the years to use the folder feature of your emails because in the
That's I use
beginning I
that
didn't do
too.
that, and then I'd be hunting through, doing searches for my emails. Now I immediately make a folder in my email for the
Yep.
event and the location, and then every time I have an email that relates to that, I'll stick it right in that folder, and it's very easy even to go back and say, okay, now let me see all the places I've spoken, or the locations or the events that I did, and that has helped me a lot. So those are two really good tips I think that will help people.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And one of the things that I do is I do it by the year. So I have like 2018,
Yes,
all the speaking engagements. And then at the end of 2018, I put a Z dash in front.
yes.
And then that just drops the bottom, but they're still always there. Maybe they invite me back 6 years later.
Yes.
I've got all the notes from before. It's just such a great way. I
That is great.
love, I
I do the Z
love
thing
email.
too. Yeah.
I love email folders. They're so
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fantastic. What's your favorite, maybe a theme verse for your ministry or for life, or a verse that God's talking to you about right now?
Well, I just really love, I've been kind of studying through Numbers recently, and I love how in the book of Numbers, where the different, people in the family of Levi were given different tasks. Some of them were carrying the poles, and some of them were carrying the utensils, and some of them were carrying the curtains and the hanging all the hanging curtains. And when you can read over that quickly and you think to yourself, wow, that's what they did. But I realized when I read through it that each of those people were given a specific task by God that was important. The people that carry the poles might say, oh, I wanted to carry the curtains, or how come they get to carry the gold bowls? But I realized that every task was important, because if the poles got bent, how are they going to put the tabernacle back together? And if the curtains got ruined, how are they going to set everything back up? And so what I saw was that the Bible tells us that our delight is in God. He alone is our delight. And the tasks that He's given us are unique for each one of us, but we are to take pleasure in the tasks that He has given us. And I think as a speaker, we want to make sure that we delight in the Lord and in our task. Don't compare ourselves with other people. Don't think about what they're doing, but just use every opportunity to delight in Him and teach others to do the same thing. Hello? I wonder if you lost me. Are you still there? I wonder if we lost our connection. Are you there, Marnie?